Welcome back to Dragon Claw. Today we have one of at least a couple neck knives that I'm going to cover. Today is about the RUKO Hawker. This is the their Survivor Series neck knife. This one is fairly small, very lightweight, nice to have around in a worst case scenario. Not exactly something you want to carry around as your primary knife, but always nice to have on, potentially as a neck knife or just a spare knife in your bag. Overall, let's talk a few specs and then we'll get into some not so technical specifications and go over some pros and cons. If you are familiar with the Hawker, you can see there is actually the metal specification right there, the AUS6 under the Survivor model. AUS6 is relatively low carbon, low quality, I'll call it, steel. It does not hold its edge well as some other steels, but actually can be sharpened quite well. So it's a give-take thing. So your lesser held edges are easier to sharpen, but again, you have to sharpen more often. So AUS6 is I wouldn't say necessarily common, but you'll see it amongst others, CRKTs and Spydercos, for example. It's a little bit more about the steel itself. There's I think 3 different types of steels in that series. It's Japanese. I don't know how to pronounce it, like Aichi steel. There's AUS 6, 8, and 10. So this is the lowest of the 3. It's got the lowest carbon and has, I believe, the lowest out of all 3 vanadium. So lower end amongst the series. It's about 5 inches overall length. Very small. As you can see, it has the black finish. It's nothing of a powder coat. It seems like just a painted black finish, which I'm not a huge fan of. But I do like the black finish versus a standard shiny finish, if you will. Let's see. Scabbard itself, it's Zytel. So if you're not familiar with Zytel, it's just DuPont's plastic nylon. That's all it is. It's just DuPont's branded version of nylon that they call Zytel. It is not your atypical blade design. If you pull it back out here, as you can tell, very good retention. Feel free to call it a drop point, but it almost looks like almost dagger, kind of almost spear. But it's, I think if you want to get technical, I would believe it would be considered a drop point more than anything. Very little edge. You have very little true edge here before you get to the serration towards the back, or what they call the front. I'm sorry. So you have a serrated front here, and a very, very little bit of edge at the belly of the knife. When you're talking about a pack knife, and I wouldn't call it a survival knife by any stretch of the imagination, but any kind of survival situation, it's always nice to have that serrated edge. So considering it's a neck knife, that's actually a good thing to have. So couple parts, we have some jimping, as you can tell here. We've got jimping right here after the serrated front of the blade, and it's a slight finger guard. I would definitely not call it a quillion, as you can tell here, very slight finger guard. So big concern there, especially for me and my big hand. As you can see, it just dwarfs, my hand just dwarfs this knife. There's also some jimping along the back, as you can see right there. Part of the handle right before the spine. The jimping it's minuscule at best. It's not going to do much to hold your finger in place. It's something, I'll give them that. But I would want something a little bit more pronounced probably, because that blade is so close to your fingers, or vice versa. The scabbard, as you can tell when I was trying to pull it out, it has very good retention. That goes in there really tight. It's tough to get out, which is, in my opinion, a very good thing. The scabbard itself, you can see there's all kinds of cool things going on in terms of holes and places for either straps or cord. So gives it a very versatile mount, you know, how you carry it, as well as the flip side. If you notice, there is an optional pocket clip, and it has two configurations, one tip up, tip down, which is also handy. So what that tells you is just tons of carry options. You obviously, it's a primary net carry, but you can use the clip for boot carry, boot clip. It can also be, you can also use the clip for OWB, outside waistband, tip up or tip down. Not really practical, but it can be. Pocket static, so you could do this as a pocket static knife. You've got the cordage here to use, cordage spots for the cordage to be used. I'd even throw out Scout. You can throw this in a Scout carry configuration because of the lanyard holes and the straps. So basically anything but a dangle, I'd say, or a cant. Cant, if you're not familiar with cant, it's very similar to the Scout, except for just a diagonal on the back of the waist. Cons, just trying to pack way too much in this thing. It's a net carry, very small knife. It doesn't need to have all these bells and whistles, in my opinion. But I see what they're trying to do here. They obviously took a lot of weight off by getting rid of a lot of this steel, which is actually kind of handy. It makes a very light knife. Let's see, advertises with a paracord. Yeah, as you can see here, this is not paracord. We're talking simple shoelaces. Not a big deal, but again, overall, just a little too small for my big hands. When you compare it to something like CRKT, which I'll show you in a different video, but I'll bust it out real quick just to see the difference. Big difference, and the CRKT is a lot easier to hold in my hand. But you know, last resort, something to have. In my case, it would be a third string, fourth string knife, just to have somewhere strapped to my bag for sure. Other than that, I think that's about it for the RUKO Hawker Survivor neck knife. And that's it for today. Thanks for joining. Have a great one.